Good morning, everybody. Last week I spent a lot of time talking and thinking about conspiracy theories, so now in this video I want to focus on a less stressful subject like gun violence, with some anti-gay bigotry thrown in for flavor, and some assorted bitching about Congress and taxes and what a shithole Hagerstown is should really set off the... How did that turn into a food metaphor? The following calls are taken from editions of Mail Call printed in the Herald-Mail from January 7th to January 18th, 2013, which can be read online in their entirety at www.herald-mail.com. First up from Kearneysville, West Virginia. Having read all the anti-gun statements in Mail Call, not once have I seen anyone acknowledge that the Second Amendment has absolutely nothing to do with hunting. It was second only to free speech to protect the populace from a dictatorial and all-assuming government. I guess most of the opinion writers who want to repeal the Second Amendment want a complete nanny state. Right, because those are the only two options, firearms free-for-all or jackbooted oppression. You're right, though, the Second Amendment isn't concerned with hunting. It's concerned with security, the security of a free state, hence the inclusion of the well-regulated militia bit and the absence of the everybody arm themselves with as much as they want of whatever they can get their hands on clause. Yeah, just because Maryland put legalized same-sex marriage doesn't mean they have to keep putting it all over the news and putting it in the newspapers, because I don't want to read about it or see it. It's wrong. Get saved. Get Jesus. Martinsburg, West Virginia. Get a hobby, for fuck's sake. Or better yet, go ahead, get Jesus. Get him and ask him what he thinks about gay marriage. See, I've heard preachers for years say that if you pray to God and you feel that he gives you an answer, you have to check the answer against the Bible to make sure that what you're hearing is actually the Word of God and not coming from something else. So get Jesus, ask him what he thinks about gay people, and then check whatever he whispers to your heart or whatever the fuck is supposedly going to happen against what Jesus says in the Bible. And if the voice on your heart says anything other than, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, then you know it's not Jesus, because Jesus never says jack shit about homosexuality in the Bible, which means that voice you're hearing in response to your prayer must be coming either from, I don't know, Satan or from yourself, you fucking prick. Of course, I guess it's possible that the voice you hear in response could be telling you to love and accept gay people. And if that's the case, good on you, because that voice comes from you too, and I'm sorry I called you a prick. If the gun had been banned during colonial times, we would still be bowing and kissing the hand of the King and Queen of England. If we ban guns now, we will be bowing to kiss the hand of President Obama. Not something this American will ever do. Washington County. Not something any American will ever do, because that's probably never going to happen. Statistically speaking, you're far more likely to be killed in a gun crime. I could see why the movie stars, actors, and actresses out in Hollywood wanted Obama to be president, because of the fiscal cliff. One of the things in there is that they'll give $160 million to the Hollywood film industry, which would help out the actors and actresses get more money when they make movies. I could see why there's so many liberal actors and actresses out there. So I know everybody, all I gotta say, God help America with President Obama in there. Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. Did anybody else think of Dr. Evil when I read that bit about $160 million? Yeah, Obama bought off Hollywood by giving them the budget for like one summer movie. I'm sure the producers of The Expendables 3 are very grateful, Mr. President. I get the paper from the Herald-Mail. This morning I was really disgusted with the homosexual marriage being shown on the front page. I mean, I'm a Christian and I believe in regular marriage. It's biblical, and just read Leviticus 18:22, 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 11. I mean, you know, you just gotta read the Bible. God is totally against this. I'm just saying, it's pretty disgusting to be in front page coverage. I mean, it's a sad day in this world that we live in. That's all I gotta say. Martinsburg, West Virginia. Martinsburg? Are you the same guy as before? Did you call the paper 2 days in a row to bitch about them printing pictures of same-sex couples? Seriously, learn to knit or something. Funny that I went to school back in the 1990s. God was still in the schools. We had guns and no cops. Now we don't have any God in schools, but we have guns and cops. What does this say to the world? Hagerstown. Where did you go to school that you had God and guns in the 1990s? I mean, most people date the removal of God from public schools to when the Supreme Court banned compulsory prayer, and that was in the 60s. I went to school in the 90s too, and a student bringing a gun to school was a pretty big fucking deal back then too. Like, you're not allowed to come to school here anymore type of deal. I guess what I'm really asking you, in an admittedly long-winded and meandering fashion, and for that I apologize, I sometimes forget how unnecessarily verbose I can be, is what the fuck are you talking about? I would like to correct the person who wrote the comment about the congresswoman on gun control. Her name is Congresswoman Dianne Feinstein, Democrat, California, and she is not a Republican. I repeat, not a Republican. Please get your facts straight before you call in a comment for all to read. All too often, people get things wrong when they call in articles, and people who are not informed believe it. Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. Good thing you called in, Shippensburg. Otherwise, that factual inaccuracy, which was printed in the newspaper, would have gone uncorrected in the newspaper. I see the top tax rate has now climbed to 39.5%. The 1913 federal tax rate, adjusted for inflation, was 1% for citizens earning $0 to $453,000. The top rate was 7% for those making over $11 million. Of course, this was when individuals took personal responsibility with their situation and didn't have entitlements and freebies to bail them out, which is a big reason why the U.S. is in the shape it's in. The U.S. is on the brink of disaster. Wake up, folks. Hagerstown. Yes, and the top federal income tax rate from 1946 to 1964 was 91% and applied to those making over $200,000 a year. Of course, that was back in a day when American companies still did most of their manufacturing in America, and a worker could reasonably expect to be able to support a family on one income. So, you can see for yourself how destructive and prohibitive to economic success are high tax rates on the wealthy. I'm retired in my 60s. I have 4 boys, grew up in Hagerstown. First chance to get out of here, they all moved away. I tell them what's going on. They call it a dead-end town. Hagerstown, a dead-end town. And they're right. I'm reading about the new stadium. You guys don't want the Suns around here? Let them go, all right? Don't make anybody happy. You chase away all the businesses. Hagerstown. Hagerstown is a really depressing place to live, or even live near, for a lot of reasons. I was born there, I lived there for a few years, and I think of it as home. But if you're a person with some ambition or imagination, if you have maybe an unconventional vision or some creative spark in you, it is a really shitty place to be. I know from experience how difficult it can be to get people around here excited for something in a positive way on even a relatively small scale, let alone something big, or at least big for around here, like trying to get a new ballpark built. So many people around here love to bitch and moan about how terrible things are, and hey, I understand the appeal of that, obviously. But when it comes to getting people worked up to change things in a positive way, you might as well be trying to raise the dead. There's something truly sick about a country whose population rushes out to buy weapons after a tragedy like small children getting shot in school where they should be safe and sound, or people going to a movie theater. And please don't give me this stuff about the Second Amendment. There aren't any Indians attacking my house, and I'm not going out to shoot buffalo. I'm not against guns, but use some sense, people. You don't need automatic weapons. Hagerstown. I agree with you, but let's not cloud the issue. Automatic weapons are not the problem. They're already heavily regulated at the federal level and have been since the 1930s. Assault rifles, semi-automatics, high-capacity magazines, these are more pressing problems at the moment, but even they are not anywhere near the whole problem. And gun control advocates, including myself, I admit, don't do themselves any favors by focusing so much attention just on those things. Those things are important, but thinking simplistically about such a complex issue isn't going to help anything. And there is simplistic thinking on both sides of the gun control argument. And finally, from Hagerstown, many years ago, a well-known minister from Pennsylvania of German descent said that what happened in Germany will happen in the U.S. The first thing Hitler did when he became chancellor was to seize privately owned firearms. The Nazis didn't pass new gun laws until 5 years after Hitler took power. It was hardly the first thing he did. And when his government finally did pass new gun laws, they weren't really all that different from the old gun laws. And he didn't ban private gun ownership for everyone, just for Jews and for others who were deemed to be disloyal to the government. And I can't believe you're making me defend Hitler. Did he not do enough terrible things? You have to distort his record just so you can make your bullshit point about the dangers of gun control? Look, there are legitimate arguments against gun control. I don't find them very compelling, personally, but they're there. When you find yourself having to make shit up about fucking Adolf Hitler to support your position, it's time to reevaluate. Thanks for watching.